The Pontiac GTO Judge was never just a car. In the late 1960s and early 1970s it was a cultural badge, a relentless dose of V8 testosterone wrapped in cheeky graphics and an attitude that dared competitors to keep up. To hear that in 2026 the Judge nameplate would make a return, not as a thinly veiled badge-engineered afterthought but as a full-blooded reinterpretation, felt, to many, like a long-lost chapter in muscle car history finally being written. This video-length article walks you through everything you need to know about the 2026 Pontiac GTO Judge returns, the design choices that bridge past and present, the audacious powertrain decisions, the driving character, the controversies, the community reaction, and whether this modern Judge truly honors the legend that inspired it. The Judge's resurrection didn't happen in a vacuum. Pontiac's rise and fall within American automotive culture left a vacuum that a certain kind of enthusiast has wanted to fill for years. The original Judge was a performance-focused offshoot of the GTO lineup, assertive styling, striped packages, and a name that suggested a final verdict on mediocrity. Reimagining that identity for 2026 required balancing heritage cues with modern engineering, safety, emissions, and consumer expectations. The designers leaned into recognizable visual signatures, the bold nose with a throwback split grille motif reinterpreted with contemporary LED elements. A silhouette that hinted at the long hood, short deck proportions of the late 60s muscle era but stretched and tightened to read like a modern sports coupe, and those classic Judge accents, cheek stripes, cheeky badging, and a measured use of contrasting colors, updated so they read as retro-inspired rather than stuck in the past. Inside, the 2026 Judge had to deliver two things that are often at odds: the visceral, analog feel that muscle fans crave, and the refinement and technology buyers now expect. The cabin accomplishes this through material choices and interface philosophy. Plenty of tactile, soft touch surfaces mixed with exposed metal trim, a driver-focused cockpit with a manually reachable shifter for the purists, and supplementary digital displays for navigation, safety, and tuning. The designers didn't hide the modern tech, they integrated it unobtrusively. A customizable instrument cluster nods to classic gauge layouts but offers configurable readouts for boost, torque, G-force, and lap timing. The steering wheel is thick and chunky, the seats are bolstered with firm support and retro-stitched leather, and sound deadening is used selectively, enough to reduce unwanted drone without smothering exhaust character. The result is a cabin that feels like a modern performance car that remembers its roots rather than a classic car with a digital overlay. Under the hood is where the conversation gets electric, and no, not in the battery sense though electrified variants were offered. The heart of the 2026 Judge takedown is an audacious internal combustion V8 that pays homage to the old pushrod, big displacement engines while using modern techniques to extract far greater efficiency and output. The headline unit is a 5.7 to 6.2-liter supercharged V8 in top trim, a powerplant built with aluminum components, direct injection, variable valve timing, and cylinder deactivation that allows it to sleep half its cylinders during cruising. In its most aggressive tune, it produces power figures that will make old-timer jawlines drop and invite comparisons to modern supercars, north of 650 horsepower and torques that feel like a wrestling match with the road. Paired with a 6-speed manual in the enthusiast-focused trims and an ultra-fast 8-speed dual-clutch automatic for daily usability packs, the driving experience is both raw and refined. Transmission choice is symbolic. Offer the manual, and you acknowledge the past. Offer the DCT, and you make the car viable for modern life. Handling and chassis tuning are another area where the 2026 Judge surprised skeptics. Instead of bowing to a straight-line-only stereotype, engineers prioritized balance. The platform uses a high-strength steel backbone with aluminum subframes and strategic use of composite materials to keep weight reasonable. Independent multi-link suspension front and rear, adaptive dampers, and a limited slip differential, offered as standard on performance trims, give the Judge a planted, responsive feel. It's not a purist sports car that begs for race tracks every weekend, but it shows serious intent when a twisty road appears. The steering is weighted for feeling rather than numbness, and the brake package concealed behind classic-style wheel designs includes large, ventilated rotors and multi-piston calipers, enough to inspire confidence even at speed. The most polarizing part of the Judge's return was the way it approached emissions and modern regulations. Rather than attempting an anachronistic V8 with zero concessions, the engineers leaned on hybridization as a pragmatic compromise. Select trims feature a mild hybrid system with a belt-integrated starter generator that boosts low-end torque and smooth stop-start operation. More aggressive variants add a true electric assist system that can deliver instant torque fills and performance gains without sacrificing the combustion character enthusiasts crave. For buyers who demanded an all-electric halo, the brand offered an EV concept sister model, a separate vehicle that borrowed Judge styling cues but delivered instant electric thrust. That split strategy allowed the combustion Judge to remain the visceral icon while giving the brand an electrified future to point toward. Styling details played a major role in calming critics who feared a diluted heritage. The designers studied original Judge examples and modernized the most iconic aspects. The rear end, for example, features a full-width LED light bar that interprets the old stacked taillight look into a contemporary signature. The rear haunches are exaggerated in a tasteful manner that makes the car red muscular in photos and in person, and the hood is available in a functional cowl induction style with vents and scoops that actually feed the airbox. Wheels come in heritage-inspired designs and modern multi-spoke patterns, and buyers could opt for period-correct decals and badging as part of a heritage pack. For those who wanted a factory-correct throwback, there was even an optional powder-coated bumper-style finish and chrome accents widely requested by collectors. Engineers just ensured they met modern pedestrian safety standards. Driving the Judge for the very first time was an exercise in reconciliation. On city streets, the engine exhibits a throaty idle and well-modulated low-speed manners thanks to careful calibration of throttle maps and exhaust valves. The mild hybrid system smooths out stop-and-go traffic, and the automatic transmission in its modus operandi provides smooth shifts and quick response. Take the Judge onto a highway on-ramp, crack the throttle, and the V8 erupts with authority, a broad torque curve that feels linear yet immediate, and a soundtrack that mixes burble and bark in a way that feels composed for public roads but unapologetic at full chat. On AB road, with the chassis set to a sportier damp mode and traction aids eased, the car invites a level of engagement that catches you off guard for a car that, on paper, could have been all flash. Turn-in is predictable, mid-corner balance rewards commitment, and the steering, brisk, communicative, provides enough tactile feedback to make the driver feel connected without being brutally heavy. Fuel economy, predictably, isn't the Judge's headline metric. But careful engineering made the car less of an environmental pariah than a 1970s GTO ever was. Cylinder deactivation and direct injection help keep fuel consumption in check during cruising, while the hybrid assist versions show measurable improvements for urban and mixed driving. Emissions compliance was achieved through advanced catalytic converters, precise engine management, and careful after-treatment. Critics argued that any modern muscle car should be held to higher sustainability standards. Proponents countered that offering a range of electrified options alongside a combustion flagship was a pragmatic way to bridge enthusiast desires and modern realities. The debate raged across social feeds, enthusiast forums, and late-night podcasts. Could an icon be preserved without compromising the planet? For many buyers, the hybrid compromise was acceptable. For some, it wasn't enough. Customization and aftermarket support were cornerstones of the Judge's market positioning. The launch strategy included a modular accessory catalog from the factory, performance packages that added caliper sizes, carbon ceramic brakes, and recalibrated AQ maps. Aesthetic packs that swapped out stripes, graphics, and interior trim, and ownership tiers that included extended performance warranties for those who wanted track days. Enthusiasts also loved that the platform was designed with bolt-on modifications in mind. The engine bay was commodious, with serviceability and upgrade potential clearly considered. The aftermarket took to the Judge like bees to honey. Tune houses produced crate superchargers, exhaust specialists released intakes and headers that altered sound and power, and the suspension scene responded with adjustable COI levers and reinforced components for hardcore corner carving. Safety was another area reimagined for the present day. The original Judge lived in an era with minimal electronic aids. The 2026 model incorporates a suite of driver assist technologies that prioritize preservation of life without erasing driver involvement. Adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, and automated emergency braking are standard, but the brand made it clear these systems support rather than dominate. Track mode disables intrusive aids and leaves the driver in direct control, albeit with brakes and stability systems still ready to intervene in extremes. Crash protection benefited from modern crumple zones, reinforced A-pillars, and airbags that include knee and curtain systems, ensuring the car met today's safety benchmarks while retaining the rawness drivers expected. Public reception to the Judge's return was a mixture of celebration and scrutiny. Early adopters and collectors, many of whom owned original GTO Judges, were visibly moved when they saw how some design cues carried over. Photographers flocked to launch events, influencers posted cinematic walkarounds, and online petrolheads dissected every detail. Yet there were skeptics too. Some argued that reviving a storied nameplate risked diluting its legacy. Others said the company could have done more to make the vehicle electrified. The counter-argument, articulated by many independent reviewers, was that the Judge needed to be true to its emotional core, an unapologetic, visceral performance machine that celebrated sound, torque, and presence in a way that electric cars often suppress. The brand smartly leaned into this debate in its marketing: admit the dilemma, show the engineering rationale, and then let the car speak on the road. Collectible value and long-term desirability are interesting to speculate about. Historically, cars that succeed in capturing both faithful reinterpretation and engineering excellence tend to age well in the collector market. The 2026 Judge has the narrative, a rebirth of an iconic model, and the technical bona fides: limited production runs for specialty trims, high-quality materials, and a catalog of factory-backed heritage options that make certain configurations particularly desirable. Early limited editions, often named for notable years or original design cues, will likely become the most pursued. Despite this, prospective buyers should be mindful. Modern cars have complex electronics and emission systems that can complicate long-term preservation compared to simpler classics. Ownership is more accessible in some ways: spare parts from dealers, modern warranties, but the long game for collectors will depend on maintenance, rarity, and how well the vehicle is preserved in its original specification. Maintenance and serviceability were clearly topics the manufacturer considered. The engineers designed the modular engine bay not only with upgrades in mind but also ease of access. Common service points are grouped logically, and the company trained a network of technicians specifically for these returning-era models. Warranties were generous for certain trims, and an owners' club was established to provide peer support, technical courses, and community-driven events like judge-only rallies. For those who relish wrenching on their own projects, the aftermarket documentation and community resources quickly grew, making it easier to source parts or performance upgrades without resorting to dodgy workarounds. From a cultural perspective, the Judge's return also sparked a wave of creative reinterpretation. Artists remixed original advertising, DJs sampled engine noises for music tracks, and designers collaborated on limited-run apparel that married 70s graphics with modern streetwear. Social media was set ablaze with owner meetups, drive videos, and retro photoshoots that positioned the car as both heritage object and contemporary icon. People who never rode in the original models suddenly found themselves enthralled by the mythos. Older owners felt a form of vindication that their beloved car's spirit lived on, and a new generation discovered the visceral thrill of a big, roaring engine in an era of otherwise silent propulsion. The driving experience, in video form, was intentionally crafted to deliver cinematic intensity without pretense. Camera rigs captured the nose dive under heavy braking, the ripples of torque through the rear tires on exit, and the close-up of tachometer needles snapping in a way that made viewers feel a physical jolt. Sound design was crucial. The factory exhaust option selected for the video package emphasized a bass-rich bark in low RPMs and a screaming upper register at redline, preserving musicality without being offensively loud. Cinematographers favored low-angle shots to emphasize the car's stance and wide-angle lenses to dramatize perspective. Behind the scenes, engineers coached drivers on how to extract the best for camera, rev matching during downshifts, controlled slides in safe areas, and disciplined use of throttle modulation to showcase the chassis without overcooking it. There were also practical considerations people needed to know before taking a Judge home. Insurance premiums for performance cars had to be accounted for. The manufacturer worked with insurers to create owner programs that reduced costs for drivers with track training certificates and history. Fuel requirements were another talking point. The high-output engines recommended premium fuel for optimum performance and long-term health. Storage and warranty conditions were spelled out carefully. certain performance modifications voided factory warranties, so the company offered approved upgrade pathways to maintain coverage. Prospective owners were advised to consider maintenance budgets realistically. High-performance components meant occasional higher-cost services, especially if the car was driven aggressively or on tracks frequently. The societal conversation around performance cars in 2026 had shifted dramatically from the Judge's original era. Regulations, climate awareness, and a new automotive lexicon challenged carmakers to innovate responsibly. The Judge's hybrid options and the brand's separate EV sibling model reflected this tension. Enthusiasts argued that driving pleasure need not be the enemy of sustainability if intelligently engineered. Policymakers and commentators continued to push for stricter emission standards. The Judge sat at the intersection of those debates, a symbol of heritage reimagined for an era that demanded both excitement and responsibility. For content creators and YouTubers, covering the Judge presented a rich canvas. Videos could be highly varied. Deep dive technical explainers on the hybrid assist system, cinematic drives highlighting sound and character, buyer's guides comparing trim levels, garage tours focused on customization, or cultural pieces about the Judge's place in automotive history. SEO-friendly titles thrived on the tension. 2026 Pontiac GTO Judge returns, honor or heresy? Or, driving the new Judge, muscle roadster or modern masterpiece? The most successful content tended to balance emotional storytelling with actual, verifiable data, dyno runs, lap times, fuel economy tests, so viewers got the thrill but also the facts. One of the most compelling narratives around the Judge was how it brought communities together. Classic car clubs that once only catered to pre-1975 machines started inviting modern reissues. Tuner Meets hosted both restomods and factory retro cars. And online forums developed dedicated threads that combined historical photos, technical diagrams, and owner modifications. The brand encouraged this communal energy, launching official owner workshops, member-only track experiences, and a platform where owners could trade custom schemes and build sheets. This facilitated knowledge exchange and helped breed a new kind of ownership culture, one that respected heritage but embraced modernity. The pricing strategy for the Judge was intentionally tiered to match diverse buyer personas. The base model delivered a strong value proposition for those who wanted the nameplate's presence with modern amenities, a compliant engine, solid chassis, and a pleasing aesthetic at a reasonable price in the context of performance coupes. Mid-tier trims added performance and handling packages, while limited-run trims, often chronographed with special badging and bespoke interior treatments, sat at the top of the range. Collectors often targeted those top trims for their scarcity and unique options. For buyers on a budget, certified pre-owned programs offered attractive alternatives as well, with factory warranties and guaranteed authenticity. Ultimately, the 2026 Pontiac GTO Judge returns as less a single object and more a cultural event, a complex, layered artifact that asks enthusiasts to reevaluate what authenticity means in a changed world. Is authenticity purely about mechanical purity, or can it incorporate modern engineering while maintaining the soul of the original? The Judge's answer is a pragmatic, sometimes imperfect, compromise, a roaring, present-day performance car dressed in the language of the past. That compromise will never satisfy purists who want only unfiltered nostalgia, nor will it appease critics determined to judge all combustion-based cars harshly. But for a large swath of drivers, those who want drama, sound, flash, and modern usability, the Judge delivers in spades. For prospective owners deciding whether to join the movement, consider your priorities. If you cherish raw, visceral feedback and want the ability to row your own gears on public roads, opt for the manual-equipped, V8-focused trims and be prepared to embrace spirited fuel bills and mechanical intimacy. If you want daily usability with blistering performance and occasional track days, the DCT or hybrid-assisted trims offer an excellent balance. If collectability matters, keep an eye on limited editions and special heritage packs available at launch.